Look, Willie, it fits a pattern, right? That it seems as if when there is somebody investigating something the president doesn't like or one of his allies doesn't like, that person is suddenly out of a job, whether they're an inspector general, whether they're another member at the Justice Department, acting U.S. attorney in D.C., or what we're seeing in New York. So there is a pattern here. And frankly, you could argue they don't get the benefit of the doubt. And certainly Congress isn't giving this administration the benefit of the doubt, not just the Democrats, but even some Republicans. You've had growing frustration over all these firings of these inspectors generals, which have taken place over the last 3 months.
So this just happened. One of Trump's own former White House lawyers is now speaking publicly about what he personally witnessed inside the administration. And Russian state media, of all places, has started referring to the sitting president of the United States with a nickname that would have sounded insane just a few years ago. They're calling him Trump the Hunchback. That is not some insult floating around online forums or hidden in private conversations. That is language now being aired directly across Russian television to millions of people watching around the world.
They are nicknames designed to do more than just nick an opponent.
Lion Ted, Lion Ted. What's your name? My name's Lion Ted Cruz.
From Lion Ted to Low Energy Jeb to
Little Marco.
Donald Trump even revels in misspelling them.
How would you spell that? L-Y-E-N. Lion.
And now he's got a new nickname intended to torment.
Crooked Hillary, fuck.
I don't respond to Donald Trump and his string of insults.
She's been crooked from the beginning.
He can say whatever he wants to say about me.
Crooked Hillary Clinton.
I really could care less.
And if you've seen the footage, you already understand why people are starting to ask questions. The images of Donald Trump climbing the stairs of Air Force One, leaning forward, shoulders tightened inward, moving with the kind of slow and deliberate caution you would never expect from someone carrying the responsibilities of the presidency. Those clips spread across international media almost immediately, and that was only the beginning.
President Trump, somewhat to the dismay of some of the China hawks in his administration, wants to describe China as a future partner. But as the president and Xi Jinping headed inside the Great Hall of the People, it was also clear there was a real difference of styles. President Trump was sort of winging it, flattering President Xi.
You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true.
When Trump returned to Joint Base Andrews, people noticed the exact same posture, the exact same forward hunch, the exact same slow and deliberate movement. International reporters noticed it, foreign officials noticed it, and audiences around the world noticed it. People are watching closely even while some networks barely mention it. But the moment that truly set social media on fire was the footage coming out of China, because that trip was supposed to project authority, diplomacy, and presidential dominance. A chance for Donald Trump to stand before the world and reinforce the image of strength that has defined his political brand for years.
This was President Trump's first trip to China in 9 years. And in the first encounter between President Trump and President Xi, the body language was fascinating. As President Trump got out of his car, he moved immediately to President Xi, treating him like an old friend, not only shaking his hand, but patting the top of his hand. I've been coming to China with American presidents, and they have all described China as some form of competitor.
There is a growing sense of anxiety building around Trump right now, and it is not just coming from Democrats or cable news panels. There are protests happening at home, pressure building ahead of the midterms, and even people inside Republican circles are quietly starting to ask questions they never would have asked a few years ago. But what really started setting the internet on fire was the footage coming out of China, because this trip was supposed to look powerful. It was supposed to look presidential. Instead, people watched Donald Trump step off the plane moving like every stair had to personally negotiate with him before he took another step. Slow, careful, deliberate. This was not the swagger people are used to seeing. This looked like a man trying to survive gravity in real time. Then people noticed the hands, then the posture. Then came what might have been the strangest handshake of his political career. Trump reached toward Xi Jinping with a grip that looked less like confidence and more like somebody trying to remember how hands work under pressure. The internet immediately locked onto it because for years Trump treated handshakes like UFC weigh-ins. Now suddenly people are watching clips frame by frame asking why everything feels different. But this story took a much darker turn when one of Trump's own former White House lawyers stepped into the conversation. Ty Cobb, a man who worked inside the administration itself, looked at the footage and basically said what a lot of people were already thinking out loud. He referenced medical experts and psychiatrists who have publicly discussed what they believe are signs of cognitive decline and frontal lobe deterioration. And then he pointed directly to Trump's behavior. The late-night social media posts, the rambling online messages at 3 in the morning, the non-stop bursts of strange comments that hit the internet, while most normal people are asleep drooling on pillows somewhere. Cobb said the symptoms appear to be getting worse, not better. And suddenly this stopped feeling like normal political drama and started feeling like the opening scene of a political thriller, where everybody knows something is wrong, but nobody wants to be the first person to say it out loud. Then things got even weirder because buried inside a federal court filing was language describing what appears to be a massive underground medical facility being constructed beneath the White House. We are talking about a state-of-the-art hospital, security installations, bunker-style infrastructure, medical equipment, protective systems, the whole thing sounding less like a renovation project and more like the Pentagon built a secret underground season finale. And naturally, people started asking the obvious question. If Trump is supposedly in excellent health, then why does it sound like somebody is building the world's most expensive underground urgent care center directly beneath where he sleeps? Because suddenly all the Walter Reed visits started looking different. The repeated physicals, the dental appointments, the scheduling changes. People noticed that there is already a dental suite inside the White House, which raised another question. Why are there so many outside medical visits happening in the first place? Then came China again, because apparently the trip still had more surprises left in it. At one point, Trump was asked about Taiwan, and his response looked like somebody buffering during a Zoom call. He smiled awkwardly, started talking about how beautiful China was, and appeared to completely drift away from the actual question. Then somehow things became even stranger when Trump proudly explained to reporters that he invented a brand new insult by removing the letter B from the word dumb. That was the joke. That was apparently the big moment. The President of the United States standing on the world stage grinning like he had just cracked the Da Vinci Code because he deleted one consonant from a word. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping seemed to understand exactly how to handle him. Walk him through a beautiful garden, show him ancient trees, bring out cheering children, give him spectacle, give him praise, give him attention, and Trump absolutely lit up. By the end of it, he looked less like a world leader negotiating with America's biggest rival and more like a guy getting emotionally adopted by Disneyland. And while all this was happening, Iran started openly mocking him online. Foreign media started clowning him internationally. And markets were getting hammered while the president talked about space cameras, reading name tags from orbit like he was pitching the plot of Fast and Furious 17. At this point, the internet is no longer debating whether people are noticing something. The entire debate now is whether the White House can keep pretending nobody notices at all.
They may try to say this is nothing more than the president trying to do a favor for a golfing buddy. But if you look at it through the larger lens of what we've seen over the last 3 months, it looks like it's a pattern here of, boy, there's somebody close to the president is under an investigation, in this case Rudy Giuliani, and the person doing the investigating is suddenly retired.
Plenty to discuss, as always, for you this morning. Chuck, thank you very much. We will look for more this morning.